Welcome to our Brothers in Conversation podcast, powered by Jesse and Shondell. Shondell, you are from?
Bed-Stuy, do-or-die, Brooklyn. That little town.
That's a little town. That's nothing like Hawthorne, Nevada. Population 5,000 cats and dogs. Now, Craig, I don't want to create a competition, and the show's not going to start. Can start in a minute. But between you and Shondell, who's the best looking dude on the screen?
Well,
this is a Craig question.
It's a great question.
No, not great. It's a Craig Knight question.
Oh, I was like, okay, go ahead and let Craig have it. How about that?
Oh, man.
Wait a minute, Shondell. Did you wait a minute? Craig, you don't need to answer. You just did. Craig's like, wait. Am I gonna get in trouble if I tell the truth and it's me? You did not know which way you were gonna go with that one, Craig Knight.
Right.
Okay, well look, let's get it started. So, welcome to our Brothers in Conversations podcast, and this is going to be awesome. Walking in the footprints of fame. Walking in the footprints of fame is the topic. This is June 4th, and this is episode 27. And special guest is Craig Knight, which both Shondell and I are super excited about. This is one of Shondell's. There's a thing called Just Talk-isms, and then you got Shondellisms.
Right.
Craig Knight is a Shondellism.
Okay.
Meaning,
I received that.
meaning he whispered in the ears of Jesse and Lisa, I think Craig Knight would be a brilliant guest, and we bought it. So welcome to the program, Craig Knight. How you feeling?
Oh, man, I got mixed emotions, but first let me say I'm grateful for being here. Thank you for inviting me. I had a chance to check out your show, and I think it was great. And I was honored when Shondell asked me to be on.
Nice.
And thanks. And I commend you for doing this because it's much needed in this time. But to answer your question, I have a lot of mixed emotions at different times. One moment I'll be sad because of what's happening with the protesting and Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, and George Floyd, and those are just the latest. And then you have David McAtee. David McAtee was the barbecue restaurant owner feeding the protesters, and he was killed.
Wow.
Course, So another lost one in the hands of law enforcement, unfortunately. So you'll probably be hearing his name more soon. And then I get mad and angry because it's the same thing over and over and over and over again. And it just seems like we don't get justice, but they want peace, And then sometimes I feel good. I feel glad because I'm grateful that I'm still alive. My family's doing well. And we live to see another day. And then I feel... And sometimes I just feel, sad, glad, mad, and hurt.
And so these things cycle in and out depending on what's going on or what your disposition is or what else is coming out. And the challenge with all this too, Craig, is, and I know this won't be new to you or Shondell. Obviously, these are extremely tragic circumstances, and we'll get to our feature title in a second. So I appreciate your organic sharing. I appreciate that organic sharing. The challenge here in all of this is a people matter.
Yes.
This is a people matter. This is a universal, global people matter. This affects all of us.
It does.
And one of the challenges that a lot of people, I think, forget is these atrocities have been going on for eons and eons of time.
At least 400 years in this country.
Come on. I mean, so it's really, really unfortunate that you want to believe that we are making advances or have made an advance, and then something like this or circumstances like this is almost like a backlash sort of thing. So I'll let Shondell weigh in, and then we'll pop over to the subject title. But I do appreciate your expression, and I have a funny feeling that a lot of people out there are resonating with those words. Go ahead, Shondell.
Yeah, one of the things that why I always appreciate Craig, because he comes from a position of facts and he comes from a position of really understanding both sides. And one thing that's important for people to really, really get is the fact that many of us are feeling those same emotions. Many of us have, and we've talked about it on our show before, Jess, is we feel a touch of emotions when it comes to discrimination or any type of disparity, no matter where it comes from. And that there's a lot of that happens. And even like somebody put on official Black Las Vegas on Facebook, they said, "Where are the black leaders?" I said, "Well, you are a black leader. If you here talking about it, you need to be a part of the leadership.
Right.
Don't look for somebody to tell you how to lead, and also embrace leadership no matter which way it comes from. If I'm not the person out marching and protesting, I'm the person behind the scenes helping to create new legislation to change everything, then you respect that person as much as you respect the person standing there going to jail, because all of us can't go to jail. All of us can't be out marching. Somebody got to be doing some work for permanent change. So I always look at it that we all have different gifts and talents. And one thing Stephen A. Smith said this morning on ESPN, he said something very, very interesting. If you actually have white friends around you and they're not educated on what we're going through and what we do, and then they say something that's ignorant, if they say something that's ignorant around you and you don't correct them, you're just as bad as they are.
Right. And what's interesting about hearing the two of you intelligent gentlemen speak is both of you, and I'm not sure if the listeners are catching this, but both of you, the key thing that I heard both of you say was couched in feeling.
Yes.
Craig talked about how he was feeling, how these things leave him feeling, his feelings about it all. And then when you went to do your speaking, you begin to talk about feeling as well. And I'm not going to oversimplify the situation. It has created tons of challenges for many. But I really believe this also gets down to Occam's razor. Occam's razor is from the theologian from the 1300s that said typically the simplest solution is typically the best. Yeah. And if we could do exactly what Craig Knight launched his thought pattern from, and you follow with feeling, I'm going back to the book, How You Leave Them Feeling.
Right.
If we were to focus on the one single concept in my book, How You Leave Them Feeling, if you were to focus on this, just how your actions and interactions are leaving others around you feeling, that police officer would have never made that tragic mistake. Yeah. If he would have thought about what his actions were, how it was going to leave others feeling, I think he would have made a different choice.
Yeah.
And so I there's a friend of mine that was a copy editor on the book, and she pointed out something that I had never even seen. It was just a statement to me. But she says, "Well, who made this quote?" I said, "Well, it's not a quote." She said, "Well, no, I think it is." I said, "No, it's just a statement." She said, "No, this is a quote." And the quote was, "Be careful of the people you surround yourself with, because your quality of life depends on it."
That's good.
That's a fact.
That's a fact, yeah.
Be careful of the people you surround yourself with, because your quality of life depends on it. Those additional officers that stood by and did nothing, they were surrounding themselves with that negative, terrible action that the person took.
The culture.
Right? You see what I'm saying?
Culture.
So with that being said, that's my point. I'm saying that if we were to reduce this whole chaotic challenges down to one simple notion of how do my actions and interactions leave others feeling, we might make better choices. What do you think, Ray?
Absolutely. And going back to what you just said about what the officer did and how he was just he was relaxed and he was comfortable with what he was doing, and I want to correct something real quick, because I thought about this too. We all thought he had his hand in his pocket, and actually he didn't have his hand in his pocket. He was wearing black gloves, and he had his fist balled up, and he was using his fist to put more pressure on his leg.
Oh, wow. If
you watch the picture, the still shots of him with that look on his face, like, yeah, I know what I'm doing.
Wow.
And I don't care, because I've been getting away with this type of attitude.
It wasn't out of the ordinary. Your point is it wasn't out of the ordinary. That's your point.
Right. And that's why it was upgraded to second degree because there was some premeditation in there. He knew at some point in that 8 minutes, he knew what he was doing. Plus, you had Mr. Floyd begging for his life. You had witnesses telling him what was going on. So no one can say they didn't know, they didn't hear, they was being told over. I watched the video again last night because I think this is important. I know it was hard to watch the first time. And I know people say, oh, I can't watch it. But you know what? You have to watch it. And I'm going to tell you why. When you watch that video, you really feel our ancestors speaking. You really feel everything, the ones that are not here, the ones that are still here but are too old to protest and get involved, but they did their part. You can feel them. You can feel the civil rights movement. You can feel Jim Crow. You can feel Emmett Till. You can feel all of that.
Right.
Because it's all about how you leave them feeling.
Right. It's
right.
all about the feeling.
There you about the feeling again. And your word, I get your words, and let me stack with you on this, is that the reason why you're making this request, Craig, is not just for the watching purpose. The reason why you're making this request is for the internal reality of it all. If you just simply hear the words, our minds, we don't think in words, we think in pictures.
Yes.
So you're asking us to see the pictures so that we can feel the feelings. That's the point.
You need to experience that moment, and then that way you can be that much more empathetic to the family.
Exactly.
To everyone. And what I also got with that when I watched it again, the reason why it was easy for that ex-officer now to do what he did, and the reason why he was so comfortable with doing it and immune to doing it pretty much is because to him, Black lives don't matter.
Wow.
Black lives don't matter. It's easy to do that when something doesn't matter to you. It's easy to do that when there's no value in people. Right. That's why he was able to do it.
When there's no value in people and you have distorted internal values.
Right.
Yes.
And you know
Exactly.
what? It's interesting because, I remember my grandfather telling me the story of his walk in the South in the 1940s, right? And so it takes you back to those times when my grandfather was saying, I just want you to understand, grandson, that when I walked in this town, when I was in town, I couldn't look anybody in the eye. Because if I looked them in the eye, there was a chance that I would end up on a tree. Now, on my way home, walking down the road, I walked past all these trees. Now, remember, this is North Carolina.
Yes.
I'm walking past these trees, and I could smell the stench of Black people when they were lynched. Because what most people think is they just lynched them and hung them from a tree. He said, I want you to understand, they burned them. So you smell the burning flesh. And those things rear up in you and give you an emotion. And guess what? Most people will have an emotion of anger. And they're going to have an emotion of anger towards people who look like the people that did those things. So that's where all of that rage comes from. Now, what I try to do is educate people on this, though, is one thing that I've learned is many people have came back with anger. They've come back with frustration. They've come back with killing. They've come back with burning. They've come back with looting. And that solves nothing. That just didn't solve anything.
No,
now,
because two wrongs don't make a right.
Two wrongs don't make a right. Now, if you take your anger and you take that anger to the polls, and you take that anger to the census, and you take that anger to the legislators, and you take that anger, guess what? If we can get protesters to not only show up when somebody's killed, but if they can show up at City Hall, if they can show up at the LVCVA, if they can show up at the state legislature in Carson City, if they can show up to all of those places, we'll have permanent change.
Well, that's pretty powerful from the two of you. And with that being said, that's an excellent segue, both Craig and Shondell. I like the way you started out by talking about the walk. You talked about the walk. So let's slide into the walk of the footprint of fame. And when we talk about that, walking in the footprint of fame, what does that sound like that actually means? When we talk about that, as we get into the subject matter, walking into the footprints of fame, what is that like for you, Craig, as we just launched the subject of that? What's that like for you?
Wow. Two things. Okay. I've been blessed to live and experience both sides of the fence.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is that I was born in the Bronx, New York, in 1964.
Okay.
And I have a family that's famous and legends in the music business.
Okay.
So growing up in the Bronx, my mother raised me and my younger brother. I had a stepfather for a moment, and then it was just us, right?
But
my mother taught.
But most of the time, your mom was she was the parent, 100% parent, and you had some part-time parenting here and there on the father's side.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. So growing up in the Bronx, she taught me to be independent. I had to be strong. I was the eldest in my generation, so my aunts and my aunties and all that, they trusted me with the responsibility of my little cousins and nieces and their nieces and nephews, right? So I always had that, to be that mature adult in the room, even at 9, 10, and 11.
Right.
And then with my father's side, with them traveling and building their career in the music business, living in Atlanta and then Detroit, during the Motown days and all that kind of stuff, I would visit like in the summertime and stuff like that. So I would see that side of it. You know what I mean? It was pretty cool and everything. And I wanted to always stay because I thought it was cool. But my mom was like, no, you got to come back and go to school, And so I'll go back and forth to New York, Detroit. And then also through my life, I started out in public school and kindergarten and first grade. Then and this is in New York, then I was in Catholic school from 2nd, 3rd, 4th grade and half of 5th grade. Then we moved to Roosevelt Island in New York, and that was in 1976, 75, something like that. So I was back in public school for half of 5th grade, 6th grade, and then we moved back to the Bronx for the 7th, 8th, and 9th grade. And the 7th grade, it was in 1977, and then that's when hip-hop was before the world knew about it. You had a choice. Before that, I was into playing drums. I was fascinated with drums.
Okay.
So when hip-hop started really developing and coming out, there were 4 things that you had to choose to do, pretty much, based on your talent and your gift and your passion, right?
Okay.
And I'm gonna get to that later in this conversation and see how that connects. Yeah. And so I chose DJ. And the reason why I chose DJ, because the DJ's job was to catch the break beats in the record, the intro, the break beats, and keep it going. So the DJ actually became the drummer for the rapper. Right? And when the rapper's rapping, the B-boys start breaking. So usually a DJ, we called it MC back in the day. Right. MC, because you MC'd the party and you rap too in there. Then you had the break dancers. That was the visual entertainment. Then you had someone who would capture all of that nostalgia and put it in a piece, which was graffiti.
Okay.
So they would capture the moment in graffiti. So those were the 4 main components in hip hop in the very beginning.
Right.
All right. So so back and forth with that. Then I was in junior high school, 7th, 8th, and 9th grade. Now 8th and 9th grade, I was visiting. My family had moved to Vegas by then, and this was like in 78 and 79. Because they were doing a residency at the Aladdin Hotel, I think it was at the time.
Right.
It was at the Sands,
right.
The Desert Inn, the Hilton, So they moved here because they had those different residency, and that's when residency was becoming a big thing. Yeah. So in visiting Vegas in summers of 78 and 79, I really liked the mountains. It gave me a different experience from the East Coast.
Right.
Yeah. And I was like, wait a minute, there's no humidity out here. There's no snow out here. And you see mountains instead of buildings on top of you.
Right.
I mean, it was like laid out. It was more laid back and spread out. So when I graduated junior high school and I was going into the 10th grade, because in New York, high school pretty much started in 10th grade. Yeah. And I told my mom when I visited the summer of 80, I said, you know what? I want to stay here and I want to stay with my dad and get to know him more, this, that, and the other. That's how I ended up being a Las Vegas.
And what age was that?
Summer of 1980. That was in 1980, so I was 13, going on 14.
Okay.
And that was 1980, and I had cousins, brothers, and sisters that was already going to Bishop Gorman High School when it was on Maryland Parkway.
Wow.
All right.
That was a big deal because they were definitely the minority going to Bishop Gorman High School back in that period.
Absolutely. So they put me in Bishop Gorman High School for the 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. So now I'm going from public school back to Catholic school.
Wow.
You see what I mean?
Dude, you're going like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
it was a blessing.
No, it was a huge, but you didn't know that at the time.
No, I didn't.
You didn't feel that at the time.
And Craig, can you? Because I don't know if you stated who your family was, because I think you went right into it. But tell everybody who you're talking about.
Okay, and the reason why I don't.
Okay,
the reason why I don't lead with that.
Yeah,
I got you.
Okay, so let me tell you this, because I was so determined because of my upbringing. My mother raised me to be independent. Yeah. And didn't want me to get caught up in the entertainment industry and music industry and that whole lifestyle. She embedded in me to make a name for myself and to do for myself and not use my family to advance.
Nice. Okay? What age did she do that, Craig?
As far back as I can remember, 5, 6.
Oh my God! Wait. What's your mother's name?
Mary Smith.
Mary, let's give a woo for Mary Smith. Let me tell you something.
Still in the Bronx.
Before you finish your story, let me just tell you something. Yeah. That was cutting edge thinking and philosophy for now and certainly back in the day. Absolutely. It would have been much easier for her to have you link on to the status of with the family before you had already built. She's telling you, no. You make your own way. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
Yeah, you got the same last name as what you're about ready to get into to tell us, but at the end of the day, you're not living by your last name. You're living by what you build, by what you grow.
That's right.
You need to grow your internal fortitude, not what others think of you because of who you're related to.
Right.
That's
because of who you are in the world. So your mother, is she still surviving, your mother?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
I hope she listens to this, and I hope she doesn't take this disrespectful. Your mother was a badass.
Yes, she was.
Because Craig, that was very, very impressive for her to take the opposite notion from human nature. Human nature is to grab on.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
She says, no, you can still be connected, but you need to make your own way. So I'm very impressed. Tell us more.
I thank her for that, and I'm blessed because it full circle, me being general manager of a radio station and throughout my life, being that DJ piece is what actually the reason why I am who I am and where I am right now. And to show you that my father was still supportive, because in 1977, when this thing was going on, and I told my mom, I said, I know what I want. I need 2 turntables and a mixer, so I can scratch. So she calls my dad, and she says, your son, there's something going on around here in New York now. And your son wants 2 turntables and a mixer, and he says the turntables for scratching. And he's like, scratching? Why you want to mess up records? And then he said, what's this mixer thing? What, he making a cake or something? So he said, okay, whatever he wants, I support him. And without him even understanding.
Wow.
So shout out to him that he supported me, even though he didn't understand what was going on. And thank God. And that's why all you parents that's listening, listen to your kids, because sometimes they know exactly what they want. It might not agree in your mind. You want them to be a doctor, lawyer, whatever, but you really have to, because the thing is going back to talent, gift, and passion. That's the footprint to success and fame.
Oh my God! Let me sneak in with you. You just gave me chilly bumps. I don't know if the world out there listening has got the bumps. I don't know if Shondell Newsom has got the bumps, but I got the bumps because you just said something very powerful. Let me weigh in on us. I want to take my shirt off because it's getting hot in here.
Keep shirt on.
Oh, wait a minute. Lisa.
Keep the shirt on, the brother.
Hey, at least wait till after this is over.
But what you said, Craig Knight, is absolutely brilliantly beautiful. It's exquisite. I want people to hear it as I tag team with you on it. My father, because of what you just said, my father has 7 kids. And whenever I had a problem as a kid, I'd go to my father, typically an emotional problem, typically a girl problem. I handle everything else. And every time I go to my father, to your point about parents, getting parents to tune into this, my father would never give me the answer. He would always tell me 2 or 3 stories.
Right.
And I'm supposed to figure it out from that. And so going into about the 10th story, I said, Pops, I got this problem. I laid on him. I said, listen, I don't want to hear any of them crappy stories you tell me. Just tell me what the answer is, right?
Yeah.
And my father would never tell me the answer. And I never understood that. But my father, like your mother and father, saw something in you that I didn't see in myself. Fast forward from my teenage years to the age of, fast 47. I'm going through landmark education to discover and find myself and gifts and talents and blah, 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 whatever, myself. And they make us do this exercise because I've been telling stories about my father and all his crappy bull stories that he tells. Right?
Yeah.
And so they said, but you need to tell the truth about that. So I called my father up and I said, listen, I owe you an apology because I've been telling stories about you and those freaking stories you used to tell me. And I said, why did you never answer my questions and give me the answer? And I said, you have 7 other kids. You didn't do that to them. Why did you do that to me? He said, because I knew you could figure it out for yourself.
Right.
See, I didn't know that he knew that.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, I go to college and get multiple college degrees. And what do I do for a living, Craig Knight? Tell stories. I wonder where that came from. I'm not even using for what I do for a living. I don't use the degrees that I got to get education. Right. I use what my father taught me because he saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. What do you think of that story?
And I don't know if you realize it now. What he was doing, he was planting that seed.
Yes.
In you too.
But I didn't know that.
You didn't know that, but when it blossomed, because he knew that was your passion,
yes.
your talent, and your gift. So he kept cultivating it without telling you.
Yes.
He was forcing you to,
Craig Knight, I call my father everything but the child of God when he wouldn't answer my question.
So here's a good lesson for young people, because this is one of the things that me and my young people, I say young people, not children anymore, but I tell them all the time. I said, your parents are here to plant seeds, and sometimes we're here to give you lessons.
Yes.
And sometimes we're here to guide you and direct you. It doesn't always feel good, right?
Right.
And Dr. Fowler used to say this all the time. The medicine don't always taste good, but it's good for you.
That's right.
Nice.
Cod liver oil.
That's
right. but you want to know something?
Sure you won't get sick.
That's right. That's right. But Craig, I want to say something else about you too at this juncture. Is when I first met you, the look on your face and your demeanor. Thanks to our brother Shondell Newsom. So thank you. It was Shondell that brought the two of us together. But when I first met you, even without the conversation that you're sharing, you're breaking it down for us to understanding about walking in the footprints of fame. You're breaking that down for us from a from a great area, from a great space. But when I first met you, I could see, I would never have known, even with your last name, that you were that connected to such a celebrity and fame, because you never lived from that space. From the moment I could feel it and see it in you. Like, it wasn't like you were rejecting it, but you weren't living from it. Like you found a great zone, if that makes sense.
Yes. Happy medium. Because that's been a struggle all my life, because, when people do find out, and, I've had instances growing up where people found out and I didn't know they knew.
Right.
And then it comes out that was their whole motive and hidden agenda.
Yes.
Okay. And that was the other thing my mother taught me, that, people need to know who you are. Right. Because if they know who you're connected to and who your family is and all that, you're not going to know their true, what's the word she used? But
their intentions, their desire. What do they want?
Yeah.
What do they want?
Their true intentions.
Yeah.
So it's like, don't let them use you. So
that's right.
that's another reason why I don't ever say it. And then when other people say it, the first thing people sometimes say, most high percentage of people, oh man, why did you tell me?
Right.
Because I didn't tell you because I wanted to know. I wanted to meet you.
Right. And now you wanted to meet them, and you wanted them to meet you, not you and the family.
Yeah. That's right.
Wow.
That's right. That's not who I am.
But you know what? Do you realize, Craig, that you're an anomaly?
I've never heard that part.
I'm telling you, you are an anomaly, because most people that come up how you came up or similar, they get pulled in by it. They didn't get that sense of independency and growth and internal, and knowing who self is outside of the celebrity and the fame. Right. Most people get enthralled in it, whether they want to or not. Your parents, from your mother and father forward, taught you that you need to have self motivation, not family motivation.
But you know what, Jess? Right. I tell you what, man. I know his dad, and you know, I love the way his dad is. So even going to church, he's the same. No matter where you see him, he's the same. He's not even like that. He's really, you know, he's like, Shondell, let me show you how to do a selfie. He actually taught me how to do a selfie.
Yeah.
Watch this old man teach. Watch this old man teach how to do a selfie. But what I love about it is that, you know, some people you see, they don't even have close to the success that Craig's family has, and they go all like they start acting like, oh man, you can't talk to me, and you know they got the big head. I have never ever gotten that from the family at all. The family, if I run into them at the grocery store, they've been just as humble and just as sweet. You just don't get that from the family. So there's a culture around the Knight family that's pretty cool.
So let me add this real quick in what you said, and that's what keeps me humble and grounded, because throughout my career and everything I do, when I do create, when my fame was rising, the reason why it didn't take me out and I didn't become egotistic and arrogant, because I will always say to myself, and I would say, let me say this first. I would always say to myself, my family have every award you can possibly win in the music business.
Right.
They've been in movies. They had TV shows. They sang for a multitude of different presidents in this country.
Yes.
They've come before. They sang for the Queen of England. They sang for princes and all royalty around the world. They've been around the world where we can't go. You know,
right?
And then, and they've done so much. They've done everything you can possibly do if you're in the entertainment business, and they always stayed humble. So that always kept me humble. It's like, okay, I did this and I that, but I haven't scratched the surface of what they've done. So who am I to get big-headed and arrogant when they're not big-headed and arrogant from the accomplishments that they made?
I like the point you made, and that's solid, but I want to make a counterpoint to your point. You have not done it in the same vein that they have, but you're doing it in your own vein because you're a general manager at a radio station, a local radio station, and an industry that is getting its butt kicked by evolution, and you're still running your game and your show. So in your own right, you've risen to a very high level at a powerful place in an industry that's I don't want to say the industry's dying, but it's got some troubles because of the internet and the global connection, and people being able to plug in and play. There's a lot of competition for all that kind of stuff, and so by your own right, you're risen to the highest level in an industry that's challenged, and you're still holding your own.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So to me,
I appreciate that.
To me,
you know what I tell you, Jess, is that like the work sometimes is not. It's not as front facing, but I remember. I mean, I've been on. I felt like I've been on a journey with Craig, right? Twice as nice, right? What was that? What were you guys back in the day? The cousins.
The nephews.
Yeah, the nephews. That's right. The nephews on KCEP. I remember when I had this client who was sponsor and the network for V108, and Craig was over there, and they did the Sky Show. the time
during the Sky Show.
And I was just blown away by all of these things that were being brought to Las Vegas as innovation. And even I give them a lot of credit because, like you said, the radio station, I mean, it has really transformed into a true community station. Like last night, I heard the dialogue that was going on with the judges and interviewing the judges and the judge candidates. And then I hear in the morning, I hear about business dialogue. And then I hear about, Black Lives Matter. You hear the morning show. You hear, you got all of this that happens within a week that really, really fuels a community. So really, you're doing it. I mean, you're doing it in an innovative way that has transformed the city of Las Vegas and more, and even the state of Nevada. And let me just tell this quick story, Jess, because this is where I'm going. I was walking into the Capitol, right, and I'm meeting with Senator Rosen and Senator Cortez Mastos, and I'm going to breakfast. And look, I walk in the room, and there's a room full of people, and you can imagine what the room looked like, right? Not many of us,
right?
So Senator Rosen goes, Shondell, guess where I'm going tonight? I'm going on the breakdown. He goes, I'm going on the breakdown on KCEP. And everybody looks at me like, what the heck is the breakdown? And why is she going there? So in the White House at the Capitol is where KCEP has come to. So amazing stuff.
Wow, good story. I like that. No, that's really cool. So from what Shondell's saying too, as a segue back to part of what we're talking about, I believe, and you can speak to this well, that so can Shondell, celebrity and fame is not what people think it is.
No.
It's never what people think it is. And the people that live with and have celebrity and fame has just as much challenge, if not more so, to manage their lives than those of us that don't. What are your thoughts, Craig?
Notorious B.I.G. said it best. More money, more problems. Yeah.
Can you believe that? I mean, but people wouldn't think that. They think that once you get to celebrity and fame, or that you're connected to it, your life is made for you.
That's because they see the end result of a product.
Right.
They don't see what it takes to plan a show, or even in a celebrity sense, reading scripts for a movie, getting into a character. That takes a lot of work. They see the movie and then they see the red carpet and they think that's it.
Okay, but check it out, Craig.
So much more before that.
Oh my God, before, during, and after. And you say you're talking about they think that's it. You read a script about Robert De Niro has lost many relationships because when he's making a movie, he becomes that character on and off the camera, and the people that he's married to can't handle the character but that's him practicing his craft. Right. He's lost relationships. Yes. Yeah. So it's cost him.
You believe him when you see him.
Of course, because he's that guy.
And I used to laugh because women used to say all the time, I want to be married to Denzel. I said, well, you might want to have a conversation with Denzel's wife.
Right.
Denzel, don't stop working, right? And I'm saying, when does he ever have time? He's always seemed to be doing movies.
But
so again, like you said, it looks good because you see her on the red carpet. And I'm gonna tell you what Arlene used to say, because somebody told her that, Arlene grew up in Las Vegas, and when people learn that because she's pretty quiet and behind the scenes, but when some of her classmates and folks learned that she was married to a business owner and seen us on TV or whatever, and I don't have even close to the fame that we're talking about, but in Las Vegas, when people hear you on the radio, see you on TV, she said, somebody told her, said, man, it must be great to be married to that guy. I said, well, you spend a week with him and tell me how it feels.
And you're right, but so people don't realize the commitment and those of us sacrifice, the commitment, the challenges, the pain, the lack of balance, the lack of sleep, the lack of energy. Those of us that are really into our crafts and we're looking to be the very best of the best of the best that we can be, not better than others, better than ourselves, we don't stop. It never stops. People don't see all of that. Right?
And go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. I want to hear your point.
And what you're saying, it goes back to what I was saying about talent, gift, and passion. Your passion, if you have a passion for something, there's no time too early, no time too late, or no distance too far to do what you love to do and do what you love. So there is no clock.
No.
There is no calendar.
Oh my God, okay, what is this? This is the Craig Knight chili bump time? You gave me the chili bumps again. Because what you just talked about, when you say there is no clock, you're talking about the rhythm. You're talking about what happens when someone is creating such an energy that time falls off the clock. Yeah. You know, that's Mihai Csikszentmihalyi talked about that too. And that's when it's just no time. But there really is time, because other people are waiting for you to come back to them. Mm-hmm. But your hours and hours and hours and hours, and your hours, it creates a flow. And the flow is what creates your genius, but it comes at a price. Other people are not getting your time, intention, and energy because you're in that flow moment. Lisa has to pull me out of this office because when I'm in a flow moment, I don't think about going to the bathroom. I don't think about eating food. I don't know why I'm carrying a belly. I got no business carrying a belly. All I need to do is stay in flow. If I stay in flow, I don't need a diet because I don't even think of food. I have no idea about existence. And those people are even at higher levels than that because they're establishing a flow. Mihai Csikszentmihalyi talks about establishing a flow is when you look at your clock and there's hours gone by and you didn't even realize it feels like minutes, right?
Yeah. So let me tell you this real quick. So what you're saying is absolutely right. And I call it, you're saying a flow. It is a workflow, but it's also a zone.
It is a zone.
It's a state, it's a state of mind. Yes. It's a state of mind. And it's like the world don't exist. It's like you're in it. And then whatever it is you're doing, you want to do the best that you can do it.
Yes.
And then you open your mind and you let the spirituality of God too, who gave you the talent and the gift.
Yeah.
And it's like you're so in love and so passionate. So let me tell you, there was a point in my life here in Vegas. I got to KCEP like in 97. It was in 97, 98, something like that. And Twice as Nice, Mike P, Smooth C, the nephews, was at KCEP from 1998 to 2001. So for 3 years, okay? And that was before, and then 97.5 came to town and V108 came to town. Mm-hmm. Mike P ended up going to 97.5 and then I ended up going to V108. But before that, the reason why Mike P and Smooth C became the #1 weekend show in Las Vegas, and there was only 2 stations at the time. It was 88.1 and 98.5 KLUC, right? So we were on the air on Friday. It started out on Friday, and I gotta set this up. Shout out to General Manager Sherman Rutledge Jr. and Lewis Connor. We call him LC, the Love Captain. He was program director at that time, right?
Right.
So when I started at KCEP, my shift was every Friday from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m., right? I had that shift. That's when I was by myself. And then behind me, Mike P was on from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. Okay? So Sherman Rutledge had a meeting with us individually and said, hey, you get along, you like Mike P? Are you guys cool? And I was like, yeah, we cool. And he said the same. He's like, how do you feel about working with him? Are y'all working together? And I was like, oh, I'm cool with that. And he's like, okay, I'm going to put y'all together. So when the Friday came, he came on with me from 6 to 10, right?
Right.
So the idea was for us to be together in that shift 6 to 10. Now, mind you, at this time, there's no computers, there's no internet.
Right.
Because we're talking about 1998 or whatever, you know. And so we had to play CDs, and we played carts that looked like 8-track tapes. Those are what the underwriting, the advertising spots were on.
Right.
So it always had to be a physical body in the studio all the time, 24/7.
Wow.
In a shift. There was no automation or nothing like that, right?
Wow.
So we're in there, and then we say, hey, you know, he's Mike P, I'm Smooth C. We're looking for a name. So we put it on the community. Give us some names, and we'll pick a name. We had a contest. Somebody came up with Twice as Nice and all that. But that first night, when 10 p.m. came, we're waiting for the next person to come and relieve us. So we're playing music. No one comes at 10 o'clock. No one comes at 11 o'clock. No one comes at 12 o'clock. So I was like, we might as well finish it out. So we stayed on the air. And it turns out they forgot to replace Mike P's shift.
Right.
But that first night went so well and we had so much fun because of the talent, gift, and passion.
And the flow and the zone.
And the flow, people loved us.
Yeah.
And then that became our shift from 6 p.m. to 2 a.m. every Friday.
Whoa.
Wait. And then this was in the summertime. So at the time, there was a show on Saturday nights called Fat Flavor. You may remember that, Shondell. And the teenagers was on that show. It was done by teenagers, and they didn't have any discipline or skills in them. They just, they played music, talk, whatever. It was just all over the place. So then Sherman says, hey, listen, would you guys run the board? I don't need you to talk. Just mentor these kids. And we said, yeah, we could do that. So now we're on Friday nights from 6 p.m. to 2 a.m. Now we don't have a party life night, because we're on the air on Friday night, so we're telling everybody where the parties are, and this, that, and the other, but we don't get to go.
But they think you guys do because you're talking about it, because you have the knowledge.
Right. We have people call in and we say, check in with us. What's going on down there? And at the time we had two-way pages. So people two-waying us. Oh man, it's cracking down here. Such and such.
No, that's.
Hey, as a matter of fact, I got to show y'all something real quick. I got to do it. Hold on.
Okay, let's do it. That's a good story though, isn't it? And while he's gone, I wasn't talking about workflow. I was talking about flow.
This goes with the story. Okay. So look, I was, on a side note, I was cleaning out my garage one day. Yeah. And look what I found.
What is that?
Two-way pager from back then.
Oh my God.
Hey, I got the holder and I found the charger.
That's so funny. And it works.
Wow.
It comes on, but it don't work because it's not connected to anything.
No service.
This is classic.
Oh wow.
This is classic. So back to the story. So the next day, that Saturday, we go to mentor these kids, right? And it just so happened one of these kids, I forgot his name, but right now he's a Hollywood, Lance Gross. Lance Gross, the actor in the Medea movies and all this stuff. Lance Gross at the time was a teenager, and he was part of our mentor. He was one of the ones we were mentoring. Yeah, and he was so fascinated with us and so cool. So he was like our son or little brother. Yeah. We took him in. But so we went there and we would do the show, and the show was from like 6 to 10, I think, something like that, on Saturday nights, and it was called Fat Flavor. So me and Mike P would run the board and we would coach them to say it like this, always start this, that. So at the end of that summer, school's getting ready to start, right? So then Sherman Rutledge said, you know what? You guys might as well have that shift too, because the kids going back to
my God.
Now we're on the radio on Fridays from 6 p.m. to 2 a.m. Wow. And we're on Saturdays from 6 p.m. to midnight. We went to midnight.
Wow.
So they started calling us the Weekend Kings.
Wow.
And our ratings was through the roof. Now, a good rating is sometimes 6 point something, 8 point something. Percentage of the listenership, right? We averaged between 19.8, and I think our highest one time was 24.3. Wow. And that was our rating on the weekends. We was killing the game. Yeah. But going back to what we're talking about, what Mike P and I did, we got so into what we was doing. Even during that whole week, we were prepared for the show. We'll go over to each other's houses. We'll listen to music. We come up with ideas. We come up with interviews and all of that. But that just goes to show, back to what I was saying, there was no time too late, too early, or no distance too far to do what we did. And we did, and we were the ones that started playing remixes. Yeah. So like during the week, KCEP would play their songs, and we started having relationships with record companies. And they would start giving us the remixes first, because they knew of our large listening audience and how much people, love the show.
Right,
Wow.
right.
So we wouldn't play the regular song, so people would wait all week long to hear the remixes on our show.
Wow.
But that goes back to the work we put in and the passion that we put in, and then it just took off from there.
Well, you know what? I commend you because I remember that. Hearing the backstory always really, really helps you out because I remember those days, and we, at Nellis Air Force Base, I was still at Nellis.
Yes.
Air Force Base, boy, and it was a party going Wednesday and Saturday night, and I really appreciated you guys coming out because it was just a bomb. It was just amazing the way you made those things happen. So, man.
So during that time, nobody knew my family. Because I made a name for myself, so people didn't even know then, and people start finding out, of course.
Jessica always talks about how you leave people feeling. If you put in your mind, hey, you know what, this is my brother. How do I leave him feeling when I walk away from him? How am I encouraging him or am I tearing him down? And we have to have that dialogue as men, but more importantly as Black men, because there are not many of us who come together and have these type of conversations. And this is why Lisa thought it was important that Jess and I do brothers and conversations, and we have specific conversations with other brothers and talk about, hey, what is it that we can dialogue about? Because women talk all the time, right? They always have women talk shows and things like that, but we have to do a better job of communicating and showing our vulnerable side, showing our compassion for each other, and all that plays into what we're talking about, right?
Absolutely.
No, that's huge what you said. I love that, and tying the highly feeling concept on, like you said, Craig, making it more about yourself and what you can do to serve others and how those actions impact everything around is really, really huge. And I'm so sorry I didn't get a chance to hear. Did you finally reveal your connection to the fame that we talked about walking in that footprint? Did you actually reveal that?
No, because you know why? Not yet. Because let me school you for a second, right? Now, entertainment 101. Always leave them waiting to the end.
Oh, wait a minute, Party Pants. How you lead them feeling, Mr. Party Pants, hold on. Number one, how you lead them feeling concept, always leave them wanting more.
Right. That's right. That's right.
So since you're holding out for the end, let me sneak in and say this. I don't live what you live. I didn't live how you live. I wasn't as connected as I know you were to just leave them wanting more that you're going to give us in the end. But Edgerton Hartwell, famous NFL football player for the Baltimore Ravens, linebacker, that's my cousin. It's my first cousin.
Yeah. Ray?
Ed Hartwell.
Oh, Ed Hartwell.
Yeah, Ed Hartwell. And in terms of comedians, Richard Pryor is my cousin. My grandmother's maiden name is Pryor.
Okay.
So
man, he's the GOAT.
Right. But I never talk about that with people like you. I never hardly ever mention it or whatever. But so what you're going to bring is going to really bring down the house. I'm just saying. On both sides of my family, on my father's side is Richard Pryor. On my other side is professional athletes that people would never know.
Right.
That's true.
People would never know.
Well, I tell you, let me tell you though, and one thing I'm gonna get on Craig before he reveals and does his thing. He talked about all the hip hop stars and the DJs and all those. I was the flyer guy.
That's right.
Hey, without the flyer, ain't nobody coming to the block party or the house.
Hey, Shondell, you was important.
Right.
You was our social media back then.
I was Twitter, Facebook.
But now, Craig, now you sound like the help. You tell us, Shondell, you pick Shondell up. You is smart. You is important.
No, he
you
was.
Was kind. You was important.
Oh,
man. Let me tell you something. Because as a DJ back then and with my crew, we couldn't hit everywhere, so we needed the flyer guys to make a flyer. And the flyer catches your attention first.
That's it.
And then when they see, and then the flyer, it dictates how that party's gonna be. If you got a flyer,
Oh, yeah.
You already know how the party's going
to be.
That's
ready to roll.
That's why he was important. But it looks like we got a minute left. So, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you that may know or may not know, my father is the original Pip, Gladys Knight The Pips. His name is Bubba Knight. His sister, who is my auntie, is Gladys Knight.
Yes.
Wow. And they've been in the music business since 1952.
Wow.
Wow.
And have done some amazing stuff.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And they was and what I love about them too, they were part of the civil rights movement. Yeah. Okay. Yep. So, and they are close friends with King and his family. So they was like there. Yep. Jesse, all of that, Reverend Al Sharpton, they all have relationships with all of them. So I feel so blessed, but I never used that. But I feel like I have a responsibility to keep that going for them, and especially them that are still living to see this. That's why I'm so grateful for the younger generations that's on the front line. And we have to be there for them to help to give them support and guidance and wisdom and knowledge. And we just got to bring it all together. And that's what I'm working on right now. That's the leave of one and more. That's right. That is the leave of one and more. But
I do want you to tell them you're on the air on Wednesday nights with the breakdown. Give us a quick snippet about that.
You just did. Every Wednesday night from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. is the breakdown with yours truly. My title on there is Professor Knight. And then we have Lady A.K. And then we have Sweet Lou Collins. And then we still have student Verley in spirit, Franklin G. Verley, who passed away last year. It hasn't even been a year yet. But God rest his soul. And that brother, I have the utmost respect for him because he was a walking encyclopedia. And as a matter of fact, I started saying that the G in Franklin G stood for Google. That's how bad he was.
Yeah, that's it, huh?
Thank y'all so much for this, man.
What a great sharing. Awesome job. Well done. Great sharing. I loved your legal wanting more in the end part, and you certainly have done that. Fabulous. We're going to sign off for now and say, Craig, outstanding having you on the program. Shondell, thank you for the magic that you always bring and connecting us with people like the Craig Knights of the world. And you know what? You are owning your game.
Yes.
Now you're on it. So
Game changer.
All right, guys. Have a great rest of the day.
Hey, we don't sign off like that. How do we sign off?
Sign us off, Shondell.
Hey, you know what? We always talk about on this show. It's all about how you leave them feeling.